Hey y'all, this is just video number 4 going through these JFK files kind of in order. Like I'm on page 4 in the archives. Some of the pages are not legible. Some of them are super long and I'm not going to read through all of that. This one in particular that I have my cursor on, it actually is like 48 pages. So that would be something I would probably have to do on my own, or you just go in there and read it yourself because it's too long even for a video. But anyway, we'll start with this one. This is February 7th, 1975. It says secret and sensitive. And then I guess that's a document number, some type of code. It says memorandum for the record, subject request from Mr. Ober for basic documentation circa 1967. Subsequent to his second appearance before the Rockefeller Commission on 3rd of February 1975, Mr. Ober returned to headquarters the afternoon of 6th of February and the morning of 7th of February to continue his review of the files he had developed while chief CISO. At the request of the commission, he was particularly interested in locating documentation which supported the creation of the Special Counterintelligence Operation. He had previously taken note of the 15th of August 1967 memorandum from the DDP to CCCI, but was interested in determining whether there was any other documentation that could be used. In this context, I showed him the following list of documents which I had unearthed in various and sundry places, which is pretty much how these documents are at this point. It says tab A, 4th of August, 1967, a memorandum from Mr. Fred Vinson Jr., Assistant Attorney General, Criminal Division, Department of Justice, to the Director of Central Intelligence. Tab B, the Director's response to tab A. Tab C, Director 25628, 4th of August, 1967. Book message originated in, I guess, White House Division in response to tab A. And then WHCOG 67-259, 10th of August, 1967. The memorandum from Mr. Bro, CWH Division, to Mr. Houston, General Counsel, detailing actions taken to respond to the 4th of August letter of Mr. Vinson, which is in tab A. Again, it says secret, sensitive, blah, blah, blah. Tab E, relay of Director 25628, 9th of August, 1967, to Brussels. Tab F, Director 26741, 10th of August, 1967, sending essentially the same message to Director 25628 to additional European stations, especially or specifically Copenhagen, Helsinki, Oslo, and Stockholm. And I think, remember, Oswald was there at some point, or he had gone somewhere close to there. But anyway, Director 27069, August 11th, 1967, to Copenhagen, Helsinki, Oslo, Stockholm, asking for cabled replies to Director 26741, tab F, and then Director 32283, 31st of August 1967, bearing on Director 26741, tab F. 21st of September 1967, memorandum from J. Walter Yeagley, Assistant Attorney General, Internal Security Division, Department of Justice, to Mr. Lawrence Houston, General Counsel of the CIA. Tab J, 22nd of September 1967, a memorandum from the General Counsel to the Director of Current Intelligence, subject Stokely Carmichael. Tab K, 28th of September 1967, memorandum from J. Walter Yeagley to Mr. Lawrence Houston. Tab L, 28th of September 1967, memorandum from J. Walter Yeagley to Mr. Houston. I guess the second one. And then tab M, 3rd of October 1967 memorandum from Mr. Houston to Mr. Yeagley. Tabs I through M were located in a file held by the Office of General Counsel entitled Stokely Carmichael. The original letter to Mr. Helms, tab A, and his reply, tab B, were located in a file held by CWH Division, as was a copy of the memorandum from Mr. Bro to Mr. Houston, tab D. The cables, tabs C, E, F, G, and H, were located in DDO, OPS, ITG, some of these, anyway, Chronos. Must be their internal codes. In the OGC file, subject Stokely Carmichael, there is a series of memoranda from DDI to Mr. Houston, which is obviously in reply to the Department of Justice request for information on Stokely Carmichael and his travels to Europe and Africa in the fall of 1967. Mr. Houston obviously served as the point of relay of these memoranda to the Department of Justice. Mr. Ober's second request was to try to locate documentation from either the President or the White House to the Director in mid to late October of 1967, wherein the President asked the Director to prepare a study on international connections with the United States peace movement. I know they just got rid of something here in the States that had something to do with the United States peace, but I don't think it was a movement. The 31st of October 1967 memorandum for the record prepared by Mr. Ober details a meeting held by CCI staff, wherein CCI states that the President has directed such a study be made and indicates that the CI staff will be the DDP unit responsible for providing DDP information to the DDI, which will be charged with writing the study. 1st of November 1967 memorandum for the record written by Mr. Ober details the first meeting between the DDI and the DDP on the subject of this study. Mr. Ober represented the DDP, while Mr. Godfrey, Director of OCI, Mr. Lehman, and Mr. Peter Dixon Davis represented the DDI. Mr. Davis was designated by the Director of OCI to draft the study. I sure wish I knew what all these codes meant. There are so many of them. It says a third memorandum for the record prepared by Mr. Ober on 1st of November 1967 entitled Progress Report details actions which he had taken at the request of Mr. Angleton, James Jesus Angleton, to set in motion the necessary actions to collect information not only from the DDP overseas stations, but from other government agencies which would be necessary in order for the DDI to properly prepare this study. Director 49260, dated 2nd of November 1967, sent from the Assistant DDP, Mr. Cord Meyer, slugged Ryback, MHP, ASHA, whatever, levied the requirement on all field stations to produce information which could contribute to the study. And then I was unable to locate any document from the President of the White House in CISO records, and finally contacted Mr. Dixon Davis in OCI. He stated that the DDI has also searched its records looking for a memorandum from the White House requesting a study, but had been unable to locate one. He did, however, have a copy of two memoranda, apparently prepared as cover sheets to transmit the finished study to the President on 15th of November 1967. Xerox copies of these two memoranda are attached as tabs N and O. Mr. Ober was specifically desirous of taking copies of tabs N and O with him to use in his next appearance before the Rockefeller Commission. He recognized that under the current ground rules, he had to clear this with Mr. Noakes. I don't know how you say that. I arranged for Mr. Nelk to call Mr. Ober as a result of a series of conversations between Mr. Nelk and Mr. Ober, Mr. White, and Mr. Nelk, and myself and Mr. Nelk. Mr. Nelk authorized Mr. Ober to take copies of tabs N and O as reference material. If asked, Mr. Ober could show these to the Rockefeller Commission, but he was not authorized to leave these papers with the commission. He was told to advise the commission that if they wanted copies, they would have to request same through Mr. Noak. At the request of Mr. Noak, I am making available a copy of this memorandum to the Inspector General, specifically tabs N and O, which Mr. Noak felt had not previously been made available to that office. Mrs. Robert D. Brown, Jr., Deputy Chief, East Asia Division. So there was a lot of stuff going on. And this has something to do with Oswald, but it's so hard to read. It says September 29th, 1968, Oswald, and then I think it says Nosuko on 26th of July, something Roca, CCI, called to my attention. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what this says of Nasuko's information, which, yeah, what's he, don't know what this is, or acquired, that he, something required. Oh, this is too hard. Nasuko's story about the Oswald case. This is Roca has been reading all the latest from N.R.E. Oswald and is in something, in his impression, or it is his impression, there are something here. I don't know what this, oh, I guess many gaps in the info from the something. I can't understand this stuff. Aspects which don't ring true. Okay, done with that one. It's too hard to read these people's handwriting. So let me move on. This is just, that one's 9 pages. That's going to take a while. Okay, so we're going to look at this one. We're not going to look at all of these because some of them are too long. I'd have to do a video for each one. And this is from January 27th, 1978, H. Clark Shore. And then it's just got a bunch of return to CIA, background use only, do not reproduce. So this is secret. It says memorandum for SADOO. And then from H. Clark Shore, Chief Plans and Review Group, Central Cover Staff. And this is subject House Select Committee on Assassinations requests. References, a memo from SADO from blah, 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 all this code stuff. January 25th, 1978, same subject, memo, and then whatever these codes, letter for OLC, for Chief Counsel Director, and then I guess it was dated January 6th, 1978. Says this memorandum supplements reference A and provides the additional information for paragraph 6. Therein, in response to the request in reference B, CCS files contain information on individuals and entities cited in certain numbered items of reference C as follows. Item 5, George DeMorenschilt, 5 documents comprising 4 contact reports with the commercial asset who is in touch with subject regarding a business activity in Haiti, and 1 memorandum detailing the results of a trace request on subject. The dates of the documents range from 25th of April to 21st March of 1963. And then B, item 9, Leo Chern, 21 documents, 6 from 1954, 1 in 1955, 2 from 1957, 2 from 1958, 1 from 1960, 4 in 1962, and 1 each 1965, 67, 68, 76, and 77, all of which concern the establishment, maintenance, and use of cover provided by a subject from 1954 to 65 for an NOC officer assigned to Paris. Additionally, the CCS maintains a file on the Research Institute of America, of which Leo Chern was executive director, comprising approximately 100 documents covered the period 1949 and 1964. Mr. Chern's name appears throughout this file. It says, see item 17, William Harvey, approximately 50 documents, virtually all which concern the establishment, maintenance, and use of cover for subject during his career with the agency as a staff employee from 1947 to 1967. Item 27, International Rescue Committee, 12 documents, 1962 to 676, addressing agency non-use of IRC and FOIA requests. Alexander Rourke, no record in CCS. E, item 29, 1, Richard Helms, approximately 25 documents, 1956 to 1974, concerning preliminary with TDY travel orders, cover documentation, and clearance verifications. James Angleton, approximately 25 documents from 1950 to 1975, concerning concern primarily with TDY travel orders, cover documentation, and retirement processing for subject who was a staff employee of the agency from 1947 to 1974. Raymond Roca, approximately 25 documents, 1964 to 1975, concerning primarily with cover matters pertaining to subject who was a staff employee. F, item 30, no record in CCS of correspondence or other communications on the matters identified involving, I guess, Messrs. Helms, Angleton, and Roca. Item 36, Southern Research Corporation, no record in CCS. Wackenhut Corporation, 100 to 150 documents covering the period 1963 to 1977 and concerning primarily contacts with Wackenhut officials. And that's H. Clark Shore. And then it says this House Select Committee on Assassinations. Let's see, is this the same? It looks like it's all the same information. I wish it was more in order, but obviously it's not. This is the one that's like 40 something pages. It's going to have to be, if I even do it. This has something to do with indications of the scope and possible damage of new allegations by Ramparts magazine. This is from November 25th, 1968. Mr. Richard Ober by hand. Maybe we could read just a few, like 3 pages or something. It says Deputy Director for Plans, Assistant Deputy Director for Plans, indications of the scope and possible damage of new allegations by Ramparts magazine. Now, why would the CIA or anybody else care what a magazine says? Okay, it says this memorandum was furnished for information only. Early in April 1968, the Office of the General Counsel made available to Central Cover Staff, CCS, okay, a copy of a letter and an attached list of organizations sent to the the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, by Mr. John Frappier, of Ramparts magazine. The letter, dated 5th of April 1968, has been furnished OGC through IRS liaison channels. The letter appended a list of 145 tax-exempt organizations and indicated that all were suspected of having been funded by or having cooperated with the CIA. The letter indicated that the listed organizations were only a part of the organizations being scrutinized by Ramparts, and that other available sources of information on these and other suspect organizations had already been examined. The other sources of information were stated as including the literature of the organizations and interviews with their staff members. Records available in the Attorney General's offices in Illinois, Massachusetts, and New York, data available at the National Information Bureau in New York, Group Research Inc. in Washington, D.C., and the Foundation Library Centers in New York and Washington, and the 990A returns available at the District Office of the IRS. The letter requested 990-A returns for specified years, and in most cases, the Form 1023 application for tax exempt status. Ramparts asked the IRS to make these materials available for inspection at a mutually convenient time. A review of available CIA data and the listed organizations has shown that 89 of them were at one time or another somehow associated with CIA. Wow. Wow. Okay. Only two of these are of current operational interest. These two activities and 45 organizations formerly of interest to CIA were mentioned in the American press during M.H. Dow. 42 others listed organizations which were in fact associated with CIA were not exposed during M.H. Dow. We have found no evidence that 55 organizations on the list were ever directly or indirectly associated with CIA because two of the names on the list are successive names of the same organization. The actual total number of organizations listed is 144 rather than 145. Three additional project organizations not included in the Ramparts list may be vulnerable because they were covertly funded by hitherto exposed or unexposed foundation funding instruments included in the list. Only one of these is of current operational interest. The CA staff was furnished a copy of the Ramparts list or letter and list and has checked out the organizations of possible previous CA staff interest. All organizations not readily identifiable with known project organization or as CCS funding instruments have been traced with RID with CS area divisions that might logically have had an interest in them and against CCS registry files. Through arrangements with the IRS, representatives of CCS and OGC also examined available IRS data 990s and Forms 1023 as the listed organization. This was done before the IRS documents were made available to Ramparts. In order to be sure that restricted 99A Part 1 data should not be furnished to Ramparts and to try to establish the reasons for Ramparts' interest in the organizations. Our current findings are the result of these various file reviews. Attached hitherto are annexes listing and discussing the several categories of organizations on the Rampart list. Annex A deals with the two organizations on the list, which are still of active operational interest. Both received press mention during McDowell or MH McDowell or MH Dowell, excuse me. Annex B lists and discusses under several subcategories the 42 organizations with which the agency has had some direct or indirect operational ties in the past, which were not cited in the press during MH-Style. Annex C lists the 45 organizations listed or included in the April 1968 list, which had former agency operational ties, which were subject to press allegations during MH-Style. Annex D lists and briefly discusses the 55 organizations included in the Ramparts list that had no known operational connection with CIA. Annex E lists and discusses three hitherto unexposed operational activities that are not included in the April 1968 Ramparts list, but which are vulnerable because they were covertly funded by hitherto unexposed funding instruments included in the Ramparts list. Annex F shows a copy of the full April 1968 Ramparts list. So it sounds like they were basically putting out propaganda. That's what I was thinking. I don't know. I'm in this magazine because they're worried about damage. Yeah, indications of the scope and possible damage of new allegations by Ramparts magazine. So, yeah, it's just weird. Anyway, yeah, I don't want to go into all this. So there's tax exempt organizations and indicate that all were suspect of having been funded by or having cooperated with CIA. It's like, are they nonprofits? So they were doing stuff kind of like what USAID is finding? I don't know. What do y'all think? I don't know. I don't have a clue. But anyway, I'll go through some more of these documents and read through them with y'all because there's so much of it. But I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good day. Bye.